Even on the hill crest, the glittering flashes off the river reach you. Can you read them? Listen. 2 Canada geese honk back and forth, one calling the other across the water. Watch. One follows the other across the current, then their wingtips on the downdraft, barely touching, dip into the flow. The lightest touch, but enough to open rippling circles in the running river. Feel the current of time that flows, even now running through this moment. Picture dust on the chair arm or pollen on the picnic table, layer after layer in the sway and wash of tides now gone. This is the land on which we live. Picture it. The sea, calm, waves lapping softly, soft, still. Sediment falling out and settling on the shore. Then the tide follows the moon away, and the land is dry. That is one great sea breath. One layer, one episode in our enormous story, and then back in the sway. Read this book in the pages of stone. Even at this height, you can make out the last word of creatures curled into rocks. We forget more than we know. We stroll through waters we cannot see. And at our feet, the ocean floor slowly undulates.
Glen Creek is a dammed torrent, a flood, slow and tame, though its current twists and breaks. And when its cords let go, they are loosed as they are made, running chalky brown, the ground ground down and flowing away. See for yourself how time too is sedimentary. Trace the layers in the watercourse of your own life. Slate looks always upward, like a flounder or trilobite, pressed flat to the thickening ocean floor. To be held in the eye of stone is to know eternity, the buildup and erosion of it. The child I was, particle by particle, emptied himself out, worn down grain by grain, to become by degrees the canyon of a man I am.
stopped her feet and parted their judgment. The prow of her dignity cutting through gray water. She lives and goes on living. We live and go on living. Two women who know strangers are not the only source of care, and escape does not require departure. A part of everyone, I believe, dries like these leaves and gains power. Just wait, I whispered to myself. You will be that strong. Some forms of love are so fierce we don't call them love. And she loves me. She made me this frock that billows like a cloud as I walk.
Our story will be what we say.
The metal roof makes a taut drum head, and the rain pounds it. Another inch an hour. Cots in long rows. I lie on my back, not seeing the couple try to steal privacy, not feeling the eerie red glow of the red exit signs, not letting the hallway's fluorescence bleed through my eyelids like they do, and not hearing the gym door's pneumatic sigh every time they snap open and bang closed, every time a parent takes a kid to the bathroom. That small, sleepy face blinking against the harsh light. How can anyone sleep in here? And yet some do, and loudly. The sound of snarled, indrawn air tightens my guts. It's the same twisting as when I picture the house and drowned yard. Windows stare into the brown swirl, or worse, windows are jagged holes the water pours in. Couch and recliner float awkwardly in the living room. Blind boatmen on tiny oceans. Then I tighten to remember the pictures on the walls, albums in the cabinet. I listen to the steady drumming of the rain, the whole shelter brimming with the sound. In my mind, I watch the atmospheric flow part around us, gather in clouds, then fragment into a million drops, each splintering in 1,000 splashes on roofs, but then reassemble in gutters, along roads, into creeks that fill and swell the swollen river. All is releasing. All is gathering. I open my eyes. Still visible, the scoreboard's just a dark outline in a darkening hall. No one is winning, and we're running out of time.
What can I trust when the flow of it is a blood force pulling against me? Thank